Hi, I'm Anna, and welcome to the Sommpour Deep Cut. When students first open the D4 textbook, they often feel a moment of relief, especially after doing the D3. Almost anything feels manageable. But sparkling wine in particular looks deceptively orderly. A few production methods, a handful of decisions, some familiar regions, and the comforting sense that compared to the rest of the diploma, this one might actually be contained. But contained is not the same as simple. Year after year, examiner reports say the same thing. Students don't lose marks in D4 because they don't understand sparkling wine. They lose them because they don't answer the question asked. They drift. They generalize. They give a beautifully detailed explanation of the wrong thing. And in a theory paper that is far more technical than it appears, drifting, even slightly, is all it takes. So, this episode isn't about how secondary fermentation works or what autolysis tastes like. You already have the textbook for that. This episode is about how to write D4 answers with the clarity and precision examiners consistently reward. The first shift happens before you write anything, when you look at the command verb. Every question in D4 tells you what kind of thinking the examiner wants. But most candidates glance past that single word and go straight for content. That verb is the architecture of your answer. When the question says explain, it's asking for cause, effect, and consequence. You're not listing facts, you're tracing logic. Because tirage introduces sugar and yeast, a secondary fermentation begins in bottle, producing the pressure that defines the traditional method mousse. That's the kind of linkage that earns marks, a mechanism followed by a stylistic outcome. When it says compare, you place two things side by side and show their divergence. When it says discuss, you evaluate, weigh, and conclude. Describe means recall with accuracy. And outline means provide the sequence without commentary or embellishment. Once you honor the verb, half the noise disappears. You stop throwing everything you know at the page and start shaping an answer the examiner can actually give credit for. The second shift is equally simple and equally ignored. Read, plan, deliver. Most diploma candidates read the question once and think, I know this, and start writing. That's how you end up with an elaborate paragraph on climate or grape choice when the question was only about tirage, lease aging, and dosage. D4 is unforgiving in this way. It rewards the candidate who stays exactly inside the frame of the question. Read the question twice. Mark the boundaries. If you're asked how production choices influence the style and quality of traditional method wines, you stay inside tirage, pressure, lees, autolysis, clarification, dosage, and maturation. You don't wander into tank method or prosecco. You don't talk about sales trends in champagne. You don't write a travelogue of Franciacorta. And you plan. 6 seconds, 60 seconds is enough. The structure, the flow, the logic. Then you match effort to waiting. This is one of the most consistent complaints from examiners. Students give a 10-mark question the same space as a 40-mark question and then discover they've run out of time for the main essay. In D4, discipline with waiting is not optional. It's the difference between a functional script and a strong one. The heart of D4 theory, though, is technical accuracy. Sparkling wines give you no room for vague language. If you write high pressure, they want the actual number. If you write long lease aging, they want the minimum months. The D4 textbook is explicit. Traditional method wines finish around 5 to 6 atmospheres of pressure, tank method wines typically between 2.5 and 5, and Prosecco often around 3. Pressure matters because it shapes bead, mousse, mouthfeel, and ultimately perceived quality. It's the same with lees aging. Autolysis does not meaningfully begin until around 18 months. Champagne's legal minimum of 12 months on lees is not the same as its sensory threshold for autolytic character, which is why vintage champagne, with 36 months required, delivers a very different profile. Cremant requires 9 months. Cava starts at 9 and climbs to 30 for Grand Reserva. These aren't trivia points, they are the foundation of style. Temperature is another area where candidates drift. In tank method wines, cool primary fermentation preserves the apple, pear, floral aromatics that define the category. A closed tank retains carbon dioxide naturally. Lease contact is brief. Release is early. When you write this in an exam, you're not simply listing production steps. You're demonstrating that you understand how these production choices create style. Dosage and sweetness levels are the same. Brute nature, extra brute, extra dry, dry, demi sec, doux. Each one has specific gram per liter ranges. When a question touches dosage, incorrect numbers cost marks instantly. The same precision is required for global categories. Cava's aging laws, Cremant requirements, Franciacorta's lease aging rules, German sect distinctions, Prosecco DOC versus DOCG Conegliano Valdobbiadene, MCC and its traditional method identity. These details live in the textbook for a reason. They are examinable and they're often answered incorrectly. But accuracy alone isn't enough. In D4, examiners reward the candidate who turn facts into reasoning. Lee's aging is 12 months is a fact. Lee's aging of 12 months allows autolysis to begin developing texture and complexity is reasoning. That link, production choice to sensory outcome to quality implication, is where D4 theory lives. A strong D4 sentence almost always contains a chain, a production decision, the technical effect it creates, and the stylistic consequence. Cool fermentation at 14 degrees preserves delicate floral aromatics, giving Prosecco its fruit forward profile. Secondary fermentation under pressure produces around 6 atmospheres of carbon dioxide, resulting in finer bubbles and longer lasting mousse. When you write in this way, the examiner can see that you understand more than steps, you understand the mechanics. And because this is an exam, craft matters. Examiners see the same pitfalls every year: answers that wander, incorrect aging requirements, autolysis described as though it happens overnight, sweetness levels misquoted, methods confused, introductions that repeat the question, conclusions that repeat the answer, entire sub questions missed on the back page. None of this has anything to do with the student's knowledge. It has everything to do with how they write under pressure. The script that rises above the rest are not dramatic, they are disciplined. They read the verb, they plan their structure, they match depth to weighting, they stay inside scope. They state facts accurately and use them to explain style, quality, and price. They recognize when commercial logic matters: stock aging, cost of riddling, labor intensity, the marketing power of traditional method versus tank. They avoid fillers, they avoid drift, they think. And that's the point of this playbook. D4 theory isn't testing how much you can memorize about champagne or prosecco. It's testing whether you can take the mechanics of sparkling wine, pressure, autolysis, carbon dioxide, retention, dosage, temperature, clarification, and use them to explain why wine tastes the way it does. When you write with that level of clarity, D4 stops feeling like a production diagram and becomes a reasoning exercise, a small theory unit with outsized potential for marks. If you like the complete written D4 theory playbook, along with one pagers and production maps we use in the Sommpour study circle, you can join the group using the link in this episode. I do hope you enjoyed listening, and I'll see you at the next deep cut.